lounging, son.
Welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name is Ryan, and with me again is another dope indie cartoonist. I got Sam Royale with me. We are going to talk comics. We're going to talk Dishoom, his book. Also going to touch on some of his IGD stuff and how it doesn't matter what art supplies you have, you create some dope fucking shit. So welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks a lot. Yeah, right off the bat, it's kind of funny, but I picked this name because I thought it'd be easier than my real name, and people still get it wrong. So it's Sam J Royale. I know it's pretty.
I was gonna say Royale. I was.
I know. Man, I really should have just dropped the E. Why did I do that? It's really on me. But,
I was gonna say Royale because then I look at it, I automatically think Royale with cheese from Pulp Fiction.
Exactly.
Oh, dude. Okay. Well,
oh, it's totally fine. It happens all the time. It happens all the time. That's why I just thought, like, oh, I finally have a forum. I'm just going to get it out there. It's Royale.
Yeah.
So, people spell it right when they Google it,
Yeah, man. I was literally I was thinking right before I was like, I want to say Royale, but it's not because everybody else says Royal. Sam
Yeah. It's come up so many times. And I'm like, oh, man, I really got to correct this.
Yeah. Good. Well, good. Everybody listening, stop calling him Sam Royale. It's Sam Royale. All right.
Appreciate it.
So let's jump into, I always like to, if you've seen any of the episodes, like I always like to ask people, kind of their origin story, I guess, like how they got into comic books, and then in turn, how you turn that love and passion for comic books into wanting to create stuff yourself.
Yeah. Well, I think like a lot of people, especially now, a lot of kids growing up now, their introductions are usually the movies and the TV shows. And it's usually other media that opened the gateway. And so for me, it was the Christopher Reeve Superman movie and the Michael Keaton Batman movie that I just had on the same VHS tape, like illegally taped back to back, that I would just watch over and over daily. And so yeah, the whole thing was just committed to memory. And I didn't know what comic books were yet, but I knew those guys and I loved them and couldn't get enough. And like you, my first comic book was Flash.
Nice.
It was number 53. It had Flash and Superman running on top of the water.
Yeah.
And it very clearly says guest starring Superman. And it says Flash across the top title, but I was still like bummed and surprised that he wasn't the main character.
Yeah.
Like, where's Superman? Why isn't Superman the main guy here? Because I didn't know who Flash was yet. And so I remember that being a little disappointing. Yeah, that was definitely the first one. And I know I never gave it away or sold it or threw it out, but that thing, I don't know where it is now. I think it just disintegrated because I probably put tracing paper over it and just wore it down into dust.
Yeah, mine's beat up. Mine is the fuck up. I had to. When did you discover some other stuff? Maybe like, okay, you discovered that as a kid, right? But
yeah,
discovering other work that kind of led you to wanting to create.
Well, see, I don't know what your experience was with this, but I never had the opportunity to like regularly get the books and continue like a full run. It would basically just be birthdays and Christmas. So I'd never have like a full story. I'd have like an issue that ends on a cliffhanger and I don't know what happens next. And then 6 months later, you get another book. And so I never, I couldn't cite specific runs necessarily, but as I got older, it was really once I hit college, I really got to properly appreciate who different artists were. I hadn't heard the name Jack Kirby until I was in high school, and yeah, so I was kind of late to the game there, and so he was definitely the first where I just started diving into what he was all about, what his impact was, and the whole Stan versus Jack thing, and went down that rabbit hole at age 17, and then I discovered all the 80s books when it was 2003. So that's when I got into Grant Morrison's Animal Man run, and seeing all the mixed media Bill Sienkiewicz art that has hugely influenced me since, and got into the 90s Sam Keith Max, and yeah, it all came from there. But like I said earlier, it all started with movies, and so even if you continue that down the line, it was Bruce Timm and his contribution on Batman the Animated Series and all the subsequent shows that spun off of that. So those things really impacted me the most. And comics came a little later. Yeah, and in terms of in creating, I really, my big regret is like if there's anyone young listening or watching right now, like please, please, please just make a book. It doesn't matter if it's bad. It doesn't matter if it's the worst book you've ever seen. Done is better than perfect, and perfect doesn't exist. And a book that exists is better than one that doesn't. You know, just get it done. And you're going to learn so much from doing it. And the next book's going to be better. And that's how you grow. What I had done was I would constantly plan and plan and plan and plan and never get the book done because I was all hung up on, oh, I need to establish a signature style. I need to have this, I need to have that. And I should have just went with it and made something. So, you know, that was something like in college, I think I was probably in my early 20s when I made my first comic story, like actually finished one.
Did you publish it?
I didn't. It was really, this was a thing where, so I studied graphic design and I found out I could get college credit for an independent study if I worked with one of the illustration professors and made a comic book. And I was like, well, if, you know, that counts as going to class, I got to do it.
Yeah.
So I signed up for that, and it was a 10-week thing where on top of my other schoolwork, I was doing that as a guy in Buffalo, New York. He was an adjunct professor, came to RIT. His name is Bill Jankowski. He's done a bit of comic book stuff, but I think, you know, doing a lot of animation stuff with Rescue Heroes and all those kinds of things, but he really liked the superhero work that he didn't get to do as much of. And he was a really great guy, really opened up my eyes to a lot of different techniques and ways of doing things, all the storytelling basics. And so it was under him that I did a 7-page short story and a 20-page short story for college credit. But no, I never published it. It really wasn't worth publishing, but it was good to get done.
I mean, I kind of want to see it. It's always cool to see people's early stuff. I mean, like I think the guys were talking about it when they were going through Wizard, talking about Alex Ross, right? Like if you look at his from when he was like 7, it's crazy that he was drawing shit that young, you know? So it's always cool to see like the growth of an artist to me. So if you have them, I think you should at least post them, let people see it.
Sure, there's somewhere. I got to find an old hard drive or something. I lost a lot of my childhood artwork because of a basement flood. It's not as tragic as Eric Larson losing all his comics in a fire, but I did lose a lot of bad drawings of Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah.
I used to draw Sonic too. I mean, I stopped drawing for whatever reason. I don't know, like, because I used to draw like every single day too. And I probably would have been a decent artist, I would imagine, if I kept drawing. But I stopped. And instead of drawing and reading, I just went to straight reading comic books and watching movies every fucking day instead of, because I didn't play sports, you know what I mean? Like I was just inside watching movies, reading comic books, maybe playing some video games. I never really got heavy into that, but God, that Eric Larson thing, dude, you mentioning that, it still gets me every time I hear that story. It's
heartbreaking.
Yeah. So let's talk Dishoom.
Yeah, sure.
First published book?
That is my first published book. Yeah.
Dude, that is one hell of a package.
I'll hold it up. Have it in stereo.
That is one hell of a package for a first book. The quality is just insane. You talk about like Bill Sienkiewicz being an influence. You totally do the whole mixed media stuff. I want to hear about this book. I want to hear what went into creating it. The title of Dishoom. Somebody told me, I was talking to them the other day, told me what Dishoom means. But you know, for everybody that doesn't know, if you could share that. I want to hear the different mediums you used for this too, because it's a beautiful book.
Well, thanks so much. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't trust myself to memorize it, so I got a little cheat sheet here. Here's the pitch, I guess. You have Dishoom is a mixed media anthology comic that plays with mythology and the supernatural while maintaining a Silver Age silliness. The first issue, there are 3 short stories, and it features Eastern philosophy, werewolves, and a loose retelling of a Russian fairy tale. So what Dishoom means, it's basically just an onomatopoeia that you have for like an action sound in Indian movies, you know, Bollywood. And so like, you have Zap comics and, you know, things like that. This is more or less the same. Dishoom could be boom, bang, whiz, pow. The sound effects on Adam West Batman. It's really just another version of that. It's one that, you know, I've grown up with at home, and it's something that a lot of people will get when they grew up with it, but I don't think it really hurts to not know what it means either, because it's really just a nonsense
Yeah.
sound effect. And so that's where that comes from. What really prompted the creation of the book was insecurity around turning 30, where I realized, I keep planning these books and I'm almost 30 and I haven't made anything yet. And so I started to panic and started planning this out. And then that's when I started. And so I was probably 29 and I started it. And then I got offered this coloring job. I don't know if you know Hammer of the Gods toys. They're Walter Harris has this custom toys thing that he does on the side, and he created this character Punch Out, where he's more or less Carl Weathers in a 80s barbarian type scenario. And he's got like this big like Hellboy like metal arm, and so he hired me to do the colors and the backgrounds on his book because he wanted it to look like an 80s Filmation cartoon. And I had a pretty good portfolio of painted pieces at the time and digitally painted. And so the pencils and inks were done by this really talented guy, Alan J. Shell. He's one of those guys where he could just mimic any style. It's not like, oh, can you do it cartoony? It's, oh, which era of cartoony do you want? Like, do you want 60s Hanna-Barbera? Do you want 80s Filmation? Do you want this to look like Bakshi Studios from Fire and Ice? And like, so he just nailed the look perfectly and had these really crisp, clean black ink lines. And I would give them flat colors and fully painted backgrounds. I don't have that book with me on hand because it's at my office. And I haven't been in the office in like a year and a half now. So I can't hold that up to show, but it's definitely worth checking out, Hammer of the Gods. And so that ended up taking 2 years out of Dishoom time. And so before you know it, I'm 34 and then Dishoom's finally ready. So yeah, even though it started with insecurity around turning 30, it took a little bit after that to actually finish it, but here we are. Yeah, the first story is over here. It's in black and white.
Yeah, I love that one.
Oh, thank you. And so one of my main goals with the visuals for Dishoom was to just experiment as much as possible so I could learn as much as possible. It was the exact opposite thing I was doing when I was younger, where I was obsessed with having like a clear, distinctive style. I was like, throw that out the window, forget about a style, just do as much as you can in as many different ways as you can, and you're going to find something that works for you. And maybe you won't find anything and you're just going to keep experimenting, but don't worry about establishing that one thing. So it's one black and white story, 2 color stories. The first one, it's all digital painting, but then the title page, this was done with pen and ink. Yeah, and then the second story, that was the most conventional in terms of method, where I was really looking at all the 80s He-Man mini comics.
Yeah.
And that's what really inspired the color palette here for the second story, the Sword of Chandra. And so it has like a very clear inked and colored method to it that the third story definitely lacks, because I just wanted to keep changing it. So yeah, there's a lot of experimentation involved. Like that second story is 9 pages, but the first page has inks in Photoshop. Then the second one has like inks in Illustrator. Then the third one has inks by hand. Then, and one of the pages is just a watercolor painting that's like retouched in Photoshop. So it's just kind of a lot of playing around with different things.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I really dug about the book, was the varying styles and the varying mediums that you did. Like this one, how was this one done? I was curious.
Yeah, so that one with the naked werewolf there, that werewolf penis is rendered in watercolor with colored pencil over it, and then I think I scanned it in and then went in with the Wacom tablet, however you say it, in Photoshop. And so, yeah, the starting point for that was watercolor on very heavily buckled copier paper.
Okay. There. And then like this too, like I could tell, like that's what I was thinking was like colored pencil, because I mean, I've watched my lady, all the art behind me is my wife's. So like I've seen her do the colored pencils, like the Prismacolors, and like she just wears those things down to like the nubs, she'll just keep going with them. So I could kind of see that texture there. But I really just dug how, from one story to, I mean, it's a one-man anthology and each one has a different style to it. Like you don't box yourself in, and I think that that's really something dope that you don't often see uh, with a creator's first book being published.
I appreciate that. I mean, maybe you do see it if the creator waits 10 years to put the book out, but
I guess.
yeah, I mean, that was really,
Yeah.
I got to ask though, the art in the back, what medium does she use? Is that acrylic with colored pencil over top, or is it oils? Because from here,
That is all acrylic.
oh,
She
wow.
all acrylic, yeah. And then she does. If you look at the ones on top of the piano, those two
Uh-huh.
framed, that's watercolor. Those are the prints though that we got made. Those aren't the originals, but she originally did it on watercolor, and then we got some prints made. She's dabbled in oil, but it takes so long for it to dry.
Yeah.
So she prefers, since like if she makes a mistake or she wants to change something, it's dry and you just paint over it, and but yeah, mostly she does colored pencils. Acrylic is her favorite, I think. And then, some watercolor as well. But
They're definitely better mediums when you have the lack of patience. I could never do oils. It was just too much. Those look
yeah,
great. You're gonna have to link her stuff in the show description too.
I talk about it constantly because people ask me, "Oh man, is that your stuff?" And I always have to say no. Like I talked to Dennis Cowan a few days ago,
Oh wow.
and he's like, "Is that your stuff?" I was like, "No, it's my wife's." He's like, "Well, thanks for making me feel bad about about myself by showing me your wife's beautiful paintings." And that's literally like the opening to our interview.
Oh wow.
I have to keep that.
High praise.
I mean, he laughed. You know what I mean? Like it was a joke. I mean, because I've known him for like a few years now. I've the fourth time I've interviewed him. So, and let's talk about I want to talk about you. We'll talk about your stuff. So Dishoom, I could see in that one drawing that I showed, or the one page that I showed you, said 2018. So,
Right.
so was that like created before the rest of the pages that surrounded it? And then, or how did you compose this book together, since it was done over a couple years? The cover is 2020, but that one page is 2018. So
Yeah, it's all over the place, right? So the book goes in chronological order. It's page one to the end, but it started, like I said, when I was like 29. So what was that? Like, oh God, I think it was 2014 is when I actually sat down and started. And then
okay,
I wasn't working on it regularly enough. And then I
right.
took a year break to color the Hammer of the Gods thing. And so it just got really spread out. And so that's what ended up happening. So that page was done in 2016. And I imagine the page after it was also done in 2016 or 2018, whatever it said. 2018, yeah. Okay, so I guess that's when I did that one. Yeah, it took me a while.
Yeah, dude. Like I said, like I think you put together a very nice pack. It's clear your graphic design, like just like from the logo to the design of the entire book. It's just you did a really good job. I'm very, very stoked to have been able to read this and to get your first thing in print. Because I'm all about print. I do not. I've said this multiple times. I will only read digital if that's the only way that I'm gonna read it before I'm gonna talk to somebody. I will wait until I can get stuff in print, because to me, like that's what comics are. Comics are a print medium. I want it in my hands. And I'm not saying like this isn't me to try to talk shit about people that like digital, like to each their own. But to me, like I grew up reading comics in print. That's what I feel like the intended medium is for it. So that's why like I just really like the aesthetic. I love like the paper stock, all that stuff. And that's why like I just really, really dug the way that you compose this book together. And I see in the back too that, another issue. When are we gonna get another issue?
So it's funny you mentioned that. I very carefully wrote coming next instead of coming soon, just because I
Yeah.
know myself. But I am on the fourth of 4 stories in there. So 3 are already done, and the 4th one is coming closer. So
Okay.
hopefully soon, but I'm not going to promise soon.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. And like we're both members of the Cartoonist Kayfabe Ringside Seats group on Facebook. That's how I discovered your stuff. What has the response been like in the group? How's the support been for you? Because I know that I've talked to other people, and I see it too, right? The support amongst all the group members for each other's projects. And that's like super infectious. Sometimes that's how I discover people's stuff. It's not even necessarily like you posted about your book, right? I see somebody else talking about it. And then I fall down rabbit holes of discovering people's stuff. So I was wondering how the response has been from fellow members in the group, and how has that support been?
it's been fantastic. I mean, like you said, people are really open about promoting other people's things and celebrating other people creating their own thing. And there's just a really great support system there, great network of peers that you can bounce ideas off of, or just share finished products with. Really, I've definitely seen the word of a lot of people come out of that group, like Rick Lopez's The Power. I got the first issue of that. I don't think 2 is out yet, but I'm gonna get that as soon as it is. Tony McMillan's Lumen and Serious Creatures, he's amazing. Craig Kimball's got some stuff in the works. So Jerome Cabanatan, there's a lot of really good creators in that group, and the support's been great. So my wife and I, we were supposed to get married in April of 2020, like right in the start of all this COVID nonsense. And what had happened was her coworkers had given her these engraved wine glasses with April 11th on it, and then we had to reschedule the wedding to the 4th of July. And so we have these glasses with the date, and so we have to use them for something. And so I made it a point to make sure the book got done on that date. That was my deadline. And so I figured, well, we'll celebrate Dishoom Day is April 11th. And so I posted about it in the group on April 11th, and the book wasn't printed yet. It was done, but it wasn't printed yet. And like the response was just overwhelming. People were really excited about it and really supportive. And as soon as that book became available, you know, we were busy with our last minute wedding planning because we had to hire any caterer just days before the event, and you know, the health inspector. It was a lot of stress. And then, oh, oops, I accidentally sold like 40 books. I gotta like be busy mailing those out now. Yeah. It was a great problem to have. I just didn't expect it. I thought, you know, I'll sell maybe 5 before the wedding and then, you know, get back into it. But it was a really big response really quickly. And the aforementioned Rick Lopez, I think he bought his copy when it was available 30 seconds in. I don't even think it was on sale for a full minute yet. And so that's the kind of support you get from that group. It's a really great bunch of people.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, like let's jump into IGD. Talk about a great group of people, great group of talents. Holy shit, that book was dope. I said it at the end of last year that IGD was my most anticipated book for 2021, and fuck did it deliver. It was one of the best comic books that I've ever read. Just the energy that emanates from the pages, the amount of sheer talent that was put into those pages, it's insane. I think it's just really dope to see what you, like I've said this multiple times too, like it's dope to see what you guys did together for the love and passion of comic books with no monetary compensation for it. Like that's not what you guys did it for. And I think that that's cool in and of itself. And I've also said that it easily could have been published by Image because the talent that you guys have, at times it's far and above some of the stuff I see coming out from Image, you know? So I want to hear your experience with the book. You did a really dope Max story, which I love the Max. You even have, there's a double page of like your process and like the tools you use. I think you went to some stuff from the Dollar Tree.
I went to the Walgreens, that's what it was, and I got the the little $2 Crayola watercolors and some colored pencils because I was like I mentioned, we got married in 2020, and I had planned to move in right after we got married, and everything got thrown off because of COVID, and so I had to move in first, and so all my stuff was packed up, and so I was originally planning to do my Spawn pages with acrylic. I did Spawn and Max, and all my paints and brushes were packed up, and I just couldn't get it out of my head. Like I gotta do something painted here, and so that's what I ended up doing. And so I used ballpoint pen with watercolor, with colored pencil, with marker. Thankfully, I had some Tombow markers that weren't packed up, and so I got some of that in there. And yeah, that's how it started. And it couldn't have come in at a better time because I just had so much stress around work and the wedding and the general well-being with friends and family, and I just needed to distract myself by working on something, and that project came at just the right time for everyone who was in the same boat. You mentioned the energy that you feel in that book, and I think a lot of that is in part due to the uncertainty and stress of comparing it to not only just current Image comics, but 90s Image comics, which is what this is largely building off of. You have that David Brower's cover, where, you know, if there was just another timeline for our world, he would have had a book in the 90s. You know, like if we could just shift his life back like 2 decades. Like that
Yeah.
stuff is on par with everything we were seeing out of 90s comics at that time. And it's just like the absolute perfect fit for the cover for that project. So that was really cool to see. Yeah, the way it worked, I wasn't one of the early people who organized the whole thing. So I'm not fully certain on the details there and how it all worked out. I know Eli Schwab, Jerome Cabanatan, Rocco Jerome, all these guys were in really, really early. And I only joined when I saw someone had posted the spreadsheet where it had all the different story points. I think Rocco had done the transcript of Ed Piskor's original image brand design pitch, and which must have taken forever. And then he broke it down into a spreadsheet in Excel with all the different story beats that needed to be hit. And some people were signing up for it. And I think I was a little late to the game there, where I think a good 20 people probably already got on there before me. And I saw Spawn's Origin was still open, and there were still openings for the Max, Sam Keats Max. And those are the only 2 I really, really wanted to do. So it worked out perfectly. My only goals were I just loved drawing in that abstract Keith style. And so I just knew I had to draw the Max in some capacity. And Spawn's cape, I just wanted to try it once. You know, I always think, oh, I made it big enough. I made it have enough volume. And then like you look at like a Todd McFarlane cape, you're like, oh, it's so like, it's like toddler size in comparison. You can never get to the right volume, no matter how big you think you're making it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, yeah, so it was just fun to try that. It was really cool to work with the people, because they've broken the different, you know, make sure no one was stepping on each other's toes and make sure no one was accidentally doing something that conflicted with someone else. The characters were broken into different teams. And so there was the Spawn team and the Max team and everything. And since Sam Keith wasn't one of the original Image founders, Team Max is just kind of left to its own devices to do whatever it wanted to do. And people in there, Ben Granoff and Dave Brum, in an early meeting, they were spitballing all these ideas, and they were not getting too spoilery. They were talking about you know, trips to hell and Malbolgia, and it hit on Buddhism, and it went to some weird places. And I remember sitting there thinking, like, I really shouldn't be here, because I have no idea what they're talking about. Like, I just didn't. I was just sitting there in the corner quietly, not knowing how I was going to get involved in this. But it all ended up working out in the end. I finally got on the same page as them, caught up to them. And the Max was definitely one of the most fun things to do in a while.
Yeah, your pages were dope as fuck. Like I said, I think the entire book is just amazing. The response to it. I don't know. I'm not sure how much money has been raised so far, but the fact that it's raising money for Hero Initiative is really cool. We had some copies at the shop I work at. Those are gone, and we had a good amount. Those are all taken, like snapped up almost immediately after Eli posted it. You know, anybody listening or watching, I'll have that link down below also, so you guys can pick up the digital copy of Image Gear Design and go print yourself a copy, do yourself a favor. Also, Disaster is available as well. You know, I think it's cool what the group does, all the projects. I know there's some other stuff in the works. So what other projects do you have in the works besides finishing up Dishoom Book 2?
Dishoom Book 2 is really the only thing that I think is far along enough that I could talk about openly, but I have been collaborating with other people in the group that you probably know that I'm really excited about. There's definitely some cool stuff. Yeah, so Weapon X, William Hopknecht organized that thing for 100% Comics. It's this retelling of Barry Windsor Smith's Weapon X, but it's all kind of twisted through our own individual lenses. There's a lot of talented artists involved. I did not have the time to do an interior page, but I was offered the cover, and I was really elated about that, because I just like with Image Brand Design, where I had to draw Spawn's cape and I had to draw Max's giant overbite. I just had to draw Wolverine with that ridiculous robot headgear just one time. And so it was really good to scratch that itch, even in an unofficial capacity.
Oh yeah, dude. So you have the cover to the book? That's really dope.
Yeah, I got the cover of it. So
Okay, very cool.
yeah.
Awesome, man. And then anything else? Are you going to be a part of those other projects?
Some of them.
We don't have to talk about
I just don't know how much detail like we're supposed to go into for those yet, but there are other things in the works, and I am involved in some of them.
Okay.
But there's like even the ones I'm not involved in, I couldn't speak highly of them enough. There's just so much talent. It's amazing to see, and it's amazing to see since it's been like well over a year. It's just amazing to see how much people have shown growth and evolution in that time. You can really see the art jumps when you look at the old posts versus the more current stuff. And I think part of that is just seeing other people's things and wanting to keep up. I mean, not necessarily in the same level of competition as Todd McFarlane might have, but you just kind of think, oh, that's possible. Like it's possible to do an image of that quality. So now I want to try and up my own game. And I think that's something the group is really good for. But in terms of things I can promote, there's Dishoom 2 coming up. And then also I have a Teespring store, dishoom.creator-spring.com. Got the one I'm wearing here. Available in toddler sizes too. Mm-hmm. And what's really nice about that, my wife was generous enough with her time to upload all the artwork onto that store. It looked like way more of a headache than it was worth, but she did it, and so it's up there now. And you know, with Dishoom, when you factor in the printing and shipping costs, even though the book is $10, I don't really get a lot of that, and so it's more about just getting it out there. I'm thrilled that people see it. I mean, that's one thing. Like I know you mentioned a preference for print over digital. And here's where I have a total double standard. I love digital because it doesn't take up any space, physical space. You know, small New York apartments, I don't have room. That bookshelf's already, buckling. It's got like U-shaped shelves on there, and I don't have room for another. So I love digital, but then it's a double standard because I love seeing my own work in print. There's just a real thrill you get out of that. So I definitely understand the appeal and wanting that tactile quality, but in order to keep that going, to finance the printing and shipping there, the shirts are honestly enormously helpful because you sell one shirt, it's the equivalent of selling a few books.
I see both sides, right? Like, let's say if I have a book, I don't want to sit on boxes of my book either, because like, I mean, you see this corner right there where my hand is. That's like a bunch of just comic book boxes, like of stuff I keep ordering that I haven't even been able to get to read, and then stuff I have listed on eBay. But now it's like I only have so much space. Also, my wife took over this room when I had my brother living with me, and he moved out, and now it's her art studio, and then I have a little corner basically. So I get like the digital, plus there's no overhead, right? Like there's no cost to that. You could have unlimited amount of sales with digital without ever having to like pay, right? So I totally get. I mean, I get both sides.
Yeah, totally. It's all got its pros and cons because like one thing I know definitely about the big two, and I'm not sure how much it applies to other publishers, but what kind of sucks about their digital is unlike a physical copy, you never really own it. You're really just subscribing. Like if I buy a digital copy, I can't resell that to you.
Yeah.
I can't do what I please with it. Whereas if I buy a physical book, I could sell it. I could cut it up into a collage. I could do whatever I want.
Yeah.
So I definitely see that side of it too.
That's always my argument. To my brother when he wanted to switch all to digital, like because he's when he was living with me, he saw all my boxes, and he's like, I don't want that. I don't want to have to lug around boxes every time I move because I had like thousands of books. I mean, I've been collecting for like over 20 years. So, but at the same time, like I was like, dude, those digital comics that you have, like, what can you do with them? At least for me, like if I buy a book and eventually I don't like it, like I can get something for it. You know what I mean? Like even if it's a fucking quarter, I get something, right? Like, and it saved me during the pandemic. I sold a lot, dude. Like maybe, pieced out like maybe 8 to 9 short boxes worth of comics, man. And like that helped me pay bills because I had the unemployment, but like still, like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't want to just rely on that. And then also it went into getting better books that, you know, like I had books. I'm like, I don't give a shit about this. And the Cartoonist Kayfabe channel and the Facebook group, you know, I keep seeing books. I'm like, fuck, I need that now. I'll just this and I'll get this. So, you know, I mean, the print digital, I think I did a video about it. I don't know. I know I've written an article or something about print versus digital. Like, I see both sides. Just me, like, print is what I prefer, you know, just because of, like, I like the paper stock. I like seeing the colors on there. I like you know, I don't want to I'm on my computer enough. You know what I mean? Like, I look at a screen enough. Don't want to be looking at a screen when I'm reading. So, but, you know, see, I don't know. Teach their own.
Like you said, it's pros and cons. And like when I tallied up all the pros and cons, for me personally, you know, digital won out just because of space. That's the
yeah, exactly.
And it's like, you know, if you got the room for it, like you must know, maybe you're one of them where like there are people who have rooms devoted to their collection, and like good for you if you can manage that. I'm not.
Oh man,
where I could. So I gotta downsize there. Another point to be made for print though is, you know, you said, like, you know, the colors of holding the printed copy, all of that's nice, but you also, when you have like a 2-page spread, it's never going to have the same impact on the screen as when you have, you know, in your book, or your physical book, like, just because like the planning that goes into making that spread, you're factoring in where the spine is going to fold, and you have to plan around those things, and those aren't factors in digital. And so when you plan for them, it might result in like, well, why is there so much negative space here? And as well, because there had to be, because that's where the binding goes. So, you know, definitely pros and cons. Everyone should make up their own decision on digital versus print. I'm not going to tell anyone.
Yeah, no, me either. I mean, I tried to with my brother. I told him, I was like, you're ridiculous. But that's only his brother, and he's my younger brother. I have to give him shit for any decision he makes. So even if he's right, I'll still try to make him think he's wrong. So, you know, anyways, before we get out of here, you know, I had a blast talking about Dishoom, talking about comics with you. Do you have any recommendations of stuff? I mean, you kind of mentioned it earlier with like Rick Lopez and a few of the other guys in the group. But yeah, any other recs, whether it's like Marvel, DC, Image, anything that you've been reading lately that you're really digging. And then after that, just, you know, where we can find you online, where we can pick up the book, and I'll drop those links below.
Sure. I mean, like, you know, we'd already mentioned it, but Rick Lopez's The Power, really blown away by the way he structured that. It's definitely worth checking out. And I know it's not out yet, but Craig Kimball's, it might go by Craig CK. He's got some stuff in the works.
Yes.
I know you as a Liefeld fan, you're excited for those.
Yeah, I'm very excited for it. I love Craig, dude. He's fucking dope.
Craig's great. He's a great guy. He's a living teddy bear.
Yeah.
Great guy, talented artist too. And definitely check out Jerome Kabanatan's books. He's also a martial arts instructor, and he like does all this really kid-friendly, fun, interactive kind of stuff where he does like comic classes with kids, and he just has this really fun, accessible style. And when you see his work, you really get the joy of it, that childlike joy, you know. And he's one of those guys talking about growth and evolution. The way his skill set has jumped in the last year is insane, because he's applied that athlete discipline to his comic craft, and it's just he's jumping leaps and bounds. It's like every 2 weeks you see something better come out of it. So really check him out. In terms of Marvel and DC, I haven't really read anything in a while from them. So let's just come up the other indie guys.
Fair enough, dude. Fair enough.
And then for Dishoom, again, I'd write these down. I can't commit any of these things to memory. Etsy.com/shop/Sam J Royale, SAMJROYALE.
Yeah.
And Dishoom.creator-spring.com for the t-shirts there.
All right, cool, man. And I will also drop links to your social media accounts for everybody so they can follow you. Make sure you guys go pick up Dishoom. Dope fucking book. And everybody that he has mentioned have interviews pretty much, or they're going to be on the channel. So links to all their stuff is available as well. And thank you again, Sam. It's been a fucking pleasure talking with you. And I can't wait to see what you do next, man.
Thanks a lot. Likewise.